It's so funny. The other night, I was out with two friends, and we go to get steak at this one steakhouse, and it's just funny. Like everybody online says, like women are attracted by bad boys or women are aroused by bad boys, and it's so funny because this hat that I have on says bad, but it's literally like a golfing brand just for golf. But like, it's so funny. I was out with two friends, and the server we had was probably between she was probably between like 45 to 55 years old, and I'm not joking. Mid sentence, she just stops explaining the menu and she looks at me. Mid sentence, just stops with the biggest smile and looks at me and goes, "Are you bad?" I could not even believe it. That's a side story that has nothing to do with today's video, but I just thought it was funny. Today's video, I titled it Six Reasons Women Get Turned Off by Loyal Men, and oftentimes why this will make it so she won't respect you or why she will stop wanting to sleep with you. This is a video I'm going to really break down at a deep level, step by step, and I even have notes for today. There's really only six reasons for this. A lot of this stems into hypergamy and pre-selection, but for those of you who want committed relationships, for those of you who would like to be married, for those of you who you want a significant other, for those of you who want to start a family one day, I get that. Keep in mind, I'm a human being too, which means all of those same desires I have as well, just like you probably have. The only difference is I oftentimes see the world for what is going on in the dating game, and you just have to move and operate at a different level if you want to obtain that amazing relationship. So let's go into each one of these step by step. Now, stay with me until the end of the video because they're all important. They're all going to tie into your dating life or your future dating life, and you're going to need to understand all of these so you don't run into these pitfalls that leave you left for another man. So, number one, here's what happens. Most men commit too quick off of just beauty or beauty alone, okay, being attracted to the woman's beauty without her winning him over. So this is what you have to understand. A woman naturally wants to win over a man. Okay, all of the best relationships that I've ever had in my life over the past 10 years started with the frame and with the dynamic where it was me not necessarily being sold on the girl right away. The first couple times this happened by accident. And then when I started to see that this is a pattern and this is a trend that they respond really well to if they have to win you over, if they have to try to almost get some attention or get some validation by really trying hard to be, what it is that you're either looking for or what it is that they think you're attracted to, they fall in love by doing that. Now, all of the relationships over the past 10 years that went south, I noticed that it's because it did not start with that dynamic, the dynamic of me not necessarily like being sold on her right away. Like you have to make it so that way she's winning you over. So this is the first issue. Most men just commit too quickly, and then she starts to question, "Hey, can I do better? Is this really my person that I'm wanting?" She asks herself these questions. So keep that in mind. She wants to win you over, and she wants to feel as if she had to put some effort into it beyond beauty alone. If she knows that she can just roll up and put on some good clothes and curl her hair, and she knows that that's all it's going to take to make you fall in love, to her that's kind of a weak man. So keep that in mind. Number two, she wants a man on her level. So you got to understand, you don't know her level. Only she knows her level. Only she knows what she thinks she's entitled to. Just like you think you're entitled to a certain, attractive companion or a certain woman, you think that you have a certain, attractive level or attraction level you want your companion to meet. She has the same. So whether you believe that hers is accurate or not for what she thinks she is entitled to in a relationship is completely irrelevant because she has her own beliefs. So she wants a man on her level. Now, if you commit, especially too quickly, especially without setting the frame and the dynamic where she had to win you over, if you do that too quickly, you have to understand she doesn't respect you. So she wants a man on her level, and committing makes her question that. It makes her question if you are qualified to be with her, especially if you do this too quickly. So keep in mind, let's paint a perfect situation. You have a runway supermodel. She's amazing and she's beautiful. Any man on planet Earth would probably want to be with her. Now, this woman has dated celebrities, athletes, famous musicians, and you ask yourself, why is she still single? What's going on? Why is she still single? What is happening? The truth is, all of those guys that she has met probably committed too quickly and probably were sold on her beauty alone. So keep this in mind, despite her being beautiful and despite all of the guys that she has been with, okay, despite all of the guys that she has been with are attractive men with status, because the framing of the situation and the framing of the circumstance was not on point, her hypergamy isn't satisfied, and now she questions that guy's value. So now let's paint a different situation. That same amazing runway supermodel, she runs across a different guy who on paper maybe doesn't have some of the same qualities that the famous guys or the rich guys or the famous musicians have. Maybe he makes less money. Maybe he has less social media followers. Maybe let's just say overall he has less things on paper that are certain attraction metrics women look for. But notice, let's say his framing is on point. So the woman starts talking to him and his text messages are delayed. He isn't really trying to meet up with her a whole lot past that first date. He doesn't necessarily care if he sees her again or not. Maybe even sometimes she'll text message him and he'll just ignore the message. That right there is going to do far more to a woman's hypergamy and to her way that she views love compared to yours. So keep that in mind. She wants a man on her level. That guy is going to appear to be on her level from a dating aspect more than the famous guys or the rich guys. So that's number 2. Number 3, women naturally love to compete for a pre-selected man. So this is what you have to remember. They love to compete for a specific guy. Now, here's what I can tell you. They don't try to do this. It literally just happens. You're going to notice it just happens. They can't necessarily control that their attraction mechanisms work that way. It literally just happens. I'm sure some of them would even prefer that it didn't. But here's what happens. If you go to an event, if you go to a house party, if you go to a bar, if you go to a nightclub, and let's say there's a group of girlfriends. Let's say there's 5 girlfriends in a group, okay? And let's say one of the girlfriends notices that one of the guys is really attractive, so she starts talking to him. Now, let's say hypothetically that girl's face just lights up, and she's so attracted to that guy. The other 4 girls literally can't help but to start to notice. They will just start looking over more, and then naturally, one by one, they're all going to try to start talking to that guy. It's not like they can even necessarily help that's what's going on. It's not like they can even control that their attraction mechanisms are working that way. It literally just happens. And then the funny part is that even though they're all competing, at the end of the night, a lot of times they go home and they're all friends again because they just understand the game. They understand that that's how things operate. So women naturally love to compete. They don't even try. It just happens. I'll give you an example. A couple weeks ago, or actually no, it was actually over a month ago by now, I went out to a bar. And when I walked in, I knew one of the girls. And one of the girls I could tell had a crush on me. And the other friend that she was with naturally saw that. And now she started to compete against her friend, even though they're friends. Now both of them are competing for attention or for anything like that. So just keep that in mind. Women naturally love to compete. And that's number 3. Number 4, the man typically becomes needy and always wanting sex or intimacy. And she thinks that this is weakness. She automatically will think that this is weakness. If you become needy, always wanting to touch, always wanting to cuddle, always wanting to handhold, always wanting to kiss, always wanting to progress things, you wanting her on that level consistently and showing that emotion is exactly why she no longer trusts your judgment. This is exactly why she feels like you are going weak for her beauty, and this is why she starts to pull away from you. That's number 4. Number 5, the guy starts to focus on her and not his status and his own survival, and this transitions into how a woman views safety. If a man is focused on leveling up his status, leveling up his purpose, leveling up his career, leveling up his financial circumstance, and on top of that, he focuses on leveling up his financial circumstance, a woman feels safe with him because she knows that that man has limited amount of time, and the small amount of time that she does get with him is now quality and valuable because of all of the things he is doing in the real world. She views that as attractive. The guy who is constantly focusing on her, always spending his free time with her, hours and hours a week, she starts to doubt his safety because she knows deep down that men have to protect and provide. Well, she knows that every single second that you spend laying on the couch watching a movie with her is a second that you are not necessarily on your purpose or doing something. She starts to get a feeling of weakness, and now she trusts your judgment less, and it just comes down to the word safety. When she's around that man, she's going to start to lose the desire because you have to understand, women look for strength and for protection in all levels and in all areas. So if you're demonstrating those attraction metrics, her emotions work in your favor. So keep that in mind. When the guy focuses on her, he stops focusing on himself. She watches your life progression go down, and now she's less into you. So keep that in mind. And number 6, she just feels that he has no options. A lot of times she starts to feel that he is committing to that relationship because no other women want him. And she can't help that she feels this way. It just happens. So one of the things that I would advise you to do is I would advise you to really do this. Stop trying to look at the world as if like, oh my gosh, I was treated unfair in this relationship or this circumstance. What you have to do is you just have to say, this is how female nature is. This is how things operate. And now that I have discovered new information, I can make a new decision. That's one of my favorite sayings that I live by. New information, new decision. You have to make mistakes. Mistakes are okay. Failed relationships are okay. Failed dating interactions are okay. Rejection is okay. You need that because it allows you to discover new information. New information, new decision. Now you can make a new decision on how you're going to live, and now you can potentially live the rest of your life in a better circumstance because you have the competency and the skill set to do so. You have learned from your mistakes, and that makes you wise. Now, I'm going to share with you a little story of how competency and being willing to work through some of your struggles or your mistakes pays off in the long run. So, one of the biggest issues with myself over the years was not necessarily knowing how to present myself. So, here's what I mean. Since I grew up in more of a small town, there's not a lot of like events and things going on. So, social media wasn't like a big thing where I grew up. It wasn't like the most popular. People didn't care about like pictures and events and stuff like that a whole lot. Okay, it was more small town vibes. So keep that in mind. So one of the biggest issues that I struggled with is I was like, obviously, you know me from my YouTube channel, I was the guy with the marker board, and I constantly would talk about all of these dating circumstances. But then when it came to transitioning that and reflecting that in my dating life with pictures or with images or with social media, I struggled. And instead of just accepting that struggle and being like, okay, I'm not good at this, or this is the one part of presentation that I don't necessarily have down, instead what I did was I took a number of months and I solved the problem. And if you guys have followed me on social media, you see that I've been way more active and posting way different things and, cool lifestyle pictures and content and situations. And it has drastically improved my dating life and whatnot, because I think what you got to understand is social media is a clear indication of what women respond to and what they are attracted to. They will tell you in a quick hurry, and you will know just through your own results if this is something that's good or something that's bad. So you can't ignore the proof. So I'm going to give you an example. Now that we are over 450 members inside of our movement, inside of our brotherhood, we get tons of comments every day. And this was a really, really good one that I'm going to read. I will keep his name private, but let's just look at this. He says, full disclosure, I'm currently at where Casey was, social media-wise. He says, I made every excuse in the book for not taking action with my social media presence online. There was a laundry list of shit I would tell myself about why I hated social media. I would say things like, I'm not photogenic enough, I'm not cool enough, my life isn't fun or interesting enough, no one's going to care. All of that is in quotation marks. He goes on to say, what I had to come to terms with is that all of my excuses were cover stories for my own insecurities. Social media was exposing where I was hiding in life. I was afraid to expose my social laziness to the world, and for good reasons. I was essentially rejecting myself before anyone could do it for me. He says, but with the inspiration of this community that is changing, okay, keep that in mind. We are growing, we are changing every day. These guys are actually changing in life for the better in certain ways where they are leveling up their own attraction. This is what I'm seeing every single day as a content creator, if you'd like to call me that. He says, I hired one of my buddies who runs a videography/photography company to help me get over my fears and help me create a solid social media presence. I want to master the language of women more than anything in life. Man, I love hearing that, or I love even reading that. And have an active dating life as well, he says, which requires a certain degree of social proof that must be curated on these platforms. Social media is the one area of life I struggle with most, and therefore my greatest opportunity for growth and positive change. I know I'm stating the obvious here, but we live in a digital age where people are judged based on their social presence online, and it's not going anywhere. It's only going to keep, or no, excuse me. He says it's only going to get bigger. Maximizing results, especially in dating, requires an active online presence, and if you consider that, that's where the majority of women are living, glued to their cell phones, he has in parentheses. Having a solid online presence is a must. He says, I truly wish this wasn't the case, and whether or not you agree, your results will speak for themselves. Like Casey said, it's possible to make your dreams come true if you take action. Find a way to succeed and don't give up. The truth is that I'm very intimidated by all of the social media stuff, but I'm going to do it anyways because my biggest fear in life is dying with a heart full of regrets, and I'm not about to let this be one of them. And I thought that was amazing. That probably took him a lot of minutes to write, but it's so true. You have to surround yourself with guys who want to level up too. You have to surround yourself with guys who care about success. Like, I'm going to give you an example. If all of the guys you talk to right now don't talk about improving their dating life, becoming more attractive, increasing their status, increasing their financial circumstance, well, then you're going to be the guy who doesn't fit in with that group if that's what you want to talk about. So there's either two options. You stay with that group and you're focused on talking about all the stuff you don't care about forever, and you keep talking about all this stupid stuff that they want to talk about that you have no interest in, or you actually say, hey, I'm going to get with a different group of friends that are more suited to my needs so I don't feel so strange if I want to step outside of the box and go outside of my comfort zone and take on new opportunities. So that's what you have to remember. That's why I made this community, because we grow together. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.